Hi, this is Marcia Vaca with Vaca Associates Family Checks and Balances. It's taken me a few days to get back to my office to be able to record this for you, but I wanted to let you know, based again on input I've gotten from some other folks, people want me to spend a little bit of time talking about how do we let go of stuff, of things, basically the whole idea of what it is to declutter. I've had to move many times myself in the last decade. And for just about all of my clients, I have helped them make a move. I've either had to move them from a home that we had to sell or an apartment into another apartment or into a level of care, a care facility. And I have to tell you, moving and downsizing and letting go of things is one of the hardest things for people to do. Um, I'm not going to have time today to talk about hoarding, which is a real issue. I've dealt with a few hoarders, and that definitely is a mental health and emotional health issue. And it can impact and, of course, make it extremely difficult to help someone through the process of letting go of things. But what I really want to talk about today is what most of us will face when we're really thinking about helping mom or dad or grandpa or grandma shift and downsize. And let me grab a little coffee. You can tell my allergies are bad again. I suppose you could say, why do I try to videotape anything when my allergies are bad? If I waited for my allergies to be 100% gone, I would never videotape anything. So here's some of my initial thoughts. We do become very attached to the things that we possess, the things that we own. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Oftentimes with my older clients, as well as myself, what I have found is that those things have meaning. It may not mean anything to you as their adult children or grandchildren, but it has meaning to that individual. It's the blanket that they brought the baby home from the hospital. It's the chest of drawers that they remember the child teething on and leaving teeth marks. It's the chair, the rocker in which they rock you to sleep each night. And those things become deeply emotional, and it's tough to let go of them. The other thing is, when we're dealing with our older parents and loved ones, they have probably already gone through a number of losses. So now you turn around and say, hey, mom, dad, we need to downsize. We need to get rid of stuff. What do you want to get rid of? Well, you have to be sensitive to the fact they've potentially already lost some things. Their health, maybe. Maybe they did already have to move out of a beloved home in which they raised their children, and they've already had to downsize once. Now you're telling them they've got to downsize again. And all those losses and the emotions and feelings about those changes, transitions, build up over time. And you come to the point where the last piece of work that needs to be done, they really dig in their heels and they do not want to let go of anything. And I totally understand where that comes from. So the other thing is too, is that sometimes what you're asking them to get rid of is family heirlooms, which means you're asking them to throw out family history or family legacy items. Again, we don't entertain today like we used to 30 and 40 years ago. The china, the crystal, the sterling, and yet those things can be very dear and close to our loved ones. And when we say, nobody in the family wants them, mom, nobody cares anymore, it's hard to hear that message and to be willing to let go of those items, even though nobody wants them. So I do have a few notes. If I look down today, it's really because I'm looking down at my notes, because I do want to keep this within about 15 minutes or so and get through some of the key points. So here's the first thing that I would tell you to do, if at all possible, is get started on this process again as far ahead of the need arises. Like, hopefully, fingers crossed, you're not trying to have them downsize like in the next 2 weeks because they've got to move out. That happens a lot, and it is a very difficult process to do in a short period of time. So I'm going to go back to one of always my key points: plan ahead. Plan ahead as much as you can. Begin to have those conversations long before you actually need to move mom or dad out of the house or out of the apartment. Begin to talk to them about things that are important to them, that are significant to them, that they would like to see passed on to family members. If you begin to ask those questions and give them time to tell you why is that particular book or that particular blanket or that particular chair, why is that so important? I mean, just ask them questions and let them tell you the story, because in that storytelling, you're going to learn some more things about your loved ones. And you're also going to find out maybe some family history that you hadn't heard before. So try first and foremost to start ahead of the actual need, so you have time to do this somewhat slowly over time. Second, do make time to let them know that you know how hard this is and how special these items have been. And, if you had to do it, you would be struggling as well. When we go through tough transitions and changes, we are comforted usually by knowing someone's going through it as well with us, that we're not the only one. So take some good notes. Plan to maybe even write up some of those notes. You can let them know you're going to write a little family history and biography, on some of those precious items that you're now having to have them give up. The third thing is take pictures. Sometimes we forget this. I worked with a professional photographer on a couple of situations where we had to have this lovely woman give up some of her children's baby clothes, and they were beautiful baby clothes. She'd taken very good care of them for decades. So rather than just say, okay, we'll go donate those, the photographer took some beautiful photographs of those items. And so even though the item had to be given away or given up, she had the pictures so she could look at those pictures. And what happens when you look at the item or at pictures? Well, it brings back memories. And the older we get, when we can't physically do what we'd like to do or be around the people that we always used to spend our time with, we look at pictures and they bring up wonderful memories for us. Hopefully most good and positive memories. So figure out if you can take pictures of some of those very key, lovely issues or items, and make sure that you give those pictures to your loved one. Then the fourth thing I would say is get those items together that need to be given away. Double check with other family members and see who might like a particular item. Now, obviously, if you've sat and done a little storytelling with your loved one, letting mom tell you about why that baby dress, why'd you hold on to this baby dress, mom, instead of, some of the other ones, then the story along with that item becomes much more meaningful to that younger generation person who might be interested in that item. So double check to see what mom or dad would like to see, or grandpa or grandma would like to see given away. to someone in the younger generation. In fact, I've worked with a few clients who've had very specific items that they wanted to have go to very specific grandchildren. And I had to sit down and I asked them why. Why is it so important to you that this grandchild get this item? And those were wonderful stories to share with those grandchildren as we turn those pieces and items over to them. So take time to, again, find out a little bit more about what's going on with your elderly loved one and help them to make this transition of giving things away that have been very near and dear. I think the last point, again, like I said, sort of number 5 on my list, is repeating maybe something I've already said, and that is to take it slow if you can. I know that's not always possible. I mean, I've had clients where I've worked with them for about 6 months before we actually had to move them. And then I've had other clients where, man, it all happened within about 30 days. And that's tough. It can be very tough. So take as much time as you can. And even in those moments when you feel most pressed and you know time is short, try to take as much time as you can, even in all the rush, to make sure your loved one is where they need to be so they're well taken care of and everything's going to, be okay and they're going to be safe. Remember, emotional safety, intellectual safety is just as important. So I hope these are just scratching the surface. This doesn't even begin to tell the whole story as to how to help someone let go of things and to declutter. For myself, I often tell myself as I look at my closet, I open a closet door, I look in a drawer and I think, oh my gosh, right now today, if something happened and I wasn't able to declutter my own things, my children would disown me, trust me. They would be left with a whole lot of stuff to deal with. So, be as prepared as you can be as gentle and kind about it as you can be, because always remember the way in which you treat your aging loved one, well, somebody's going to end up treating you the same way down the road with all of your stuff and all of your things that you hold dear to you. So I hope that's helped a little bit. I do plan to bring in an expert and interview an expert in the matter of hoarding, and I'll keep you posted on that. But hopefully this has helped to get some thoughts going, and you can think about what you can be starting to do now with your family members so you don't have to do it in a rush. And people get beautiful items with great stories behind them that become truly family legacy mementos. Thanks.